My own mother spent the night with my fiance right before the wedding. I stayed silent until the ceremony, but when the pastor asked for my response, I grabbed the mic and exposed them both. The entire church froze in shock. 3 years ago, I thought I had it all figured out. I'm 28, a Georgetown grad with a literature degree, summa cum laude, thank you very much, working as a senior editor at Meridian Publishing. Life was good. I was engaged to Nathaniel Reed, the kind of guy who checks every box. 31, ridiculously handsome, a corporate attorney at a top DC firm, driving a sleek BMW. His parents, Judge Harrison Reed and philanthropist Victoria Reed, DC royalty. When he proposed to me at the Kennedy Center during Swan Lake's intermission, my favorite ballet, I was over the moon. A 2-carat diamond sparkled on my finger like it was made of starlight. My mom, Diana, couldn't stop gushing. "You've done well, sweetheart," she said, her eyes gleaming. I missed the edge in her voice then, the way she said it like I'd sealed a deal, not found my soulmate. My dad, Pastor William Darren, was quieter but just as happy. He's built his life preaching family values, and seeing his only daughter marry into a family like the Reeds felt like a divine stamp of approval. "Nathaniel's a good man," he told me, wrapping me in one of his big, warm hugs. "I can see how much you love him." Love. That word felt like honey then. Now, it tastes like ash. Wedding planning took over my life. Mom threw herself into it like it was her personal mission from God. She picked the flowers, white roses and peonies, not the wildflowers I wanted. She booked a full orchestra when I suggested a string quartet. She even convinced me to stick with traditional vows instead of writing my own. "Trust me, darling," she'd say with that smile I thought I'd inherited. Mother knows best. Nathaniel found it all amusing, charming my parents with stories from his law firm, spending long evenings in our kitchen laughing with Mom while I took work calls. I thought it was sweet how well they got along. God, I was naive. The first crack in my perfect world showed up 3 weeks before the wedding. I stopped by my parents' colonial-style house after work, arms full of RSVP cards. The place was eerily quiet. "Mom, Dad," I called, dropping my bags in the foyer. Mom's voice came from the kitchen, but it was off, breathless, almost panicked. "Sweetheart!" She was at the sink, washing dishes that looked spotless, her usually perfect hair a mess, cheeks flushed. "I didn't expect you so early," she said, avoiding my eyes. It was 6:30 p.m., my usual Wednesday time. Something felt wrong, but I couldn't pin it down. The kitchen smelled different, not her usual vanilla candles, but something masculine, like expensive cologne. "Was someone here?" I asked. "Just me," she said too quickly, turning back to the sink. Then I saw it, a coffee mug from our good china, the kind we only use for special guests. It was still warm. "Mom, whose mug is this?" Her shoulders stiffened. "Mine," she said. I needed caffeine. The lie was so obvious it stung, but I loved her, so I let it go. A week later, Nathaniel started pulling away. He canceled our Thursday night dinners, missed our cake tasting, and when I called his office, his secretary said he'd left early. Worried, I drove to his Georgetown apartment. The elevator ride to the 15th floor felt like forever. His car was in the garage, but the apartment was dark. "Nathaniel, are you okay?" I called, letting myself in. A single wine glass sat on the coffee table, lipstick on the rim, a shade I didn't wear. His bedroom door was locked, which was weird. He never locked it. "I'm not feeling well," he mumbled through the door. "Food poisoning. I'll call you tomorrow." I stood there, staring at that door, my gut screaming that something was wrong. But I chose trust. "Feel better," I said. "I love you." His "love you too" came a beat too late. The truth hit me like a freight train 2 days before the wedding. Mom called asking me to grab wedding programs from her Mercedes. I found them easily, but then I saw a black leather notebook tucked between the seats, my name scrawled on the cover in her handwriting. My hands shook as I opened it. The first entry, dated 3 months ago, right after my engagement, read, "Nathaniel Reed is everything I should have married. Handsome, successful, from the right family. Instead, I settled for William and his middle-class ministry." Maybe it's not too late. My world tilted. Page after page detailed her affair with my fiancé. He looks at me the way William used to. We made love in his apartment while Celeste was at book club. Nathaniel says marrying Celeste is what's expected, but his heart belongs to me. I sat in her car, the suburban afternoon humming around me, sprinklers, kids on bikes, dogs barking, while my heart shattered. How long had they been laughing at me? Every dinner, every family gathering, every time they exchanged glances, I was too trusting to read. My mom, who planned my perfect wedding, and my fiancé, who promised me forever, were plotting to betray me even after the vows. The tears came then, hot and angry, until I was empty, replaced by a cold, clear resolve. They chose each other over me. I'd choose myself over them. I didn't go home. I checked into the Willard Intercontinental under a fake name, paid cash, and spread the evidence on the hotel bed. Mom's journal, Nathaniel's credit card statements showing purchases of her favorite wine, the signs I'd missed, the cologne in the kitchen, the lipstick on the glass. I wasn't the old Celeste anymore, the one who'd beg for explanations and forgive too easily. That Celeste died in a Mercedes, reading her mother's betrayal. The new Celeste was done playing their game. I called my assistant Jenna and asked for the wedding guest list, every email, phone number, social media handle. Then I called my college roommate Priya, a journalist in New York. I need you at St. Michael's tomorrow with your camera, I told her. Something big's going down. Finally, I called my dad. I love you, I said, my voice cracking. No matter what happens tomorrow, none of this is your fault. He was worried, but I hung up before he could ask more. I wasn't after revenge, I was after justice, the kind that exposes truth no matter how ugly. Wedding day dawned crisp and clear. I sat in my hotel bathrobe, sipping coffee, watching DC glow pink and gold. My phone buzzed with texts from Mom. Good morning, beautiful bride. Today will be the most beautiful day of your life. Each word was a knife. I showered, looked in the mirror, and saw someone new, someone who wouldn't be anyone's fool. At St. Michael's, the cathedral buzzed with early guests and vendors. My bridesmaids fussed over my dress, an ivory A-line gown Mom chose, dripping with pearls. You're glowing, my matron of honor, Kathleen, said. Like today's gonna change everything, I replied, meaning it. Dad arrived, looking proud in his tux. I handed him Mom's journal. Read it, I said. His face crumpled as he read, the betrayal sinking in. What are we going to do? He whispered. We're going to walk down that aisle, I said, and show everyone who they really are. He hesitated, torn between his pastor's instinct to keep things private and the truth staring him in the face, but he nodded, offering his arm. You're braver than I ever was, he said. The bridal march swelled and 200 guests stood as Dad and I stepped into the sanctuary. Nathaniel beamed at the altar, his tux perfect, his blue eyes warm with fake love. Mom sat in the front pew, radiant in emerald, dabbing her eyes like the perfect mother. They were Oscar-worthy actors. Dad handed me to Nathaniel, and Pastor Jenkins began. I waited, letting the ceremony build, letting them think they'd won. When he asked if anyone had reason we shouldn't marry, I stayed silent. I wanted them to feel safe. Then came my vows. Celeste, do you take Nathaniel, Pastor Jenkins started? I turned to the congregation, my voice steady. Actually, I have something to say. The cathedral went silent. Nathaniel's grip tightened. Mom froze. I found my mother's journal yesterday, I said, my words echoing. It details her 3-month affair with my fiancé. Gasps ricocheted off the walls. They've been laughing at me, planning to continue after this wedding. I turned to Nathaniel. Is it a misunderstanding that you spent last night at my parents' house? His face went white. To Mom, you decided my happiness was a fair price for feeling desired. Chaos erupted. Mom sobbed. Nathaniel stammered. Judge Reed stared at his son in horror. I walked down the aisle, my dress trailing like a queen's robe, past my father's proud tears, out into the parking lot. I was free. Priya's footage went viral by evening. Wedding revenge trended. Nathaniel's career tanked, Mom lost her social standing, and Dad resigned to take a job in Vermont, refusing to preach what he couldn't live. 6 months later, I'm in Alexandria, Virginia, in a new apartment, a new job in New York on the horizon. Cherry blossoms bloom, and I'm building a life that's mine. A year later, I'm keynoting at a women's literature conference telling hundreds of women that choosing truth over comfort changes everything. My story's not about revenge, it's about liberation. It's about refusing to be silent when the world expects you to be. So here's to choosing yourself, America. Here's to the freedom that comes when you speak your truth, even if it means standing alone at an altar. That's my happily ever after, and I wouldn't trade it for anything.